So, very special interview for the Game Marks podcast. We are joined by the Major Wrestling Figure podcast, Curt Hawkins, or Brian Myers,
Pump
Matt
the brakes.
Cardona.
We got fired, boys.
Sorry.
Man,
sorry.
WWE Legal just called me. What are you doing, bro?
It's habit. Sorry. We are joined by Brian Myers. All right.
No, keep this. This is great.
Keep this, Clash.
This is real life. And while we're at it, I can admit this to Mark and Clash here. I thought your partner was Jay George this whole time.
And I'll admit this. I don't know who the fuck this guy is.
My name's George. I've done graphics for the Major Pod before.
Oh, thanks, man.
Oh yeah.
Thanks, man.
We've paid George fees.
I do like your
Christmas sweater?
detolf in the background.
Oh, yeah. Clash called me a Mark because it's in the background.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, so like
I know the
was
Game
saying-
Marks podcast. I hear your little jingle in our pod. You guys got a hell of a brother rate for that ad.
Yeah, hell of a brother. I'm wondering
Absolutely.
what you paid what you paid the Caught Looking podcast for your ad in that one.
And this whole time you thought it was Jay George.
I know, right?
Who has been on our podcast, oddly enough.
Oh wow.
All right, so in 2011, WWE released a video game called WWE All Stars, and along with that, Mattel released some figures that went along with it. And being that you guys are the foremost authority on wrestling action figures, I figured who better to talk to than you guys. So
Yeah, so the first thing that comes to mind when you're talking about this, obviously there's the 2-packs, they were Toys R Us exclusives. I've said this pretty vocally, I've never really been a video game guy. The last time I actively played video games, I had a Sega Genesis, and I remember I loved the Aladdin game, and that was the extent of it. Even when I got into WWE and I was in games, I didn't even play them or try to play as myself. I remember the first time a game came out that I was in, I tried to be Curt Hawkins, and I couldn't even walk. Video games had just passed me by so far that I was like, all right, whatever, I'm done with this. But that game, for whatever reason, and I'm assuming it's just the over-the-top graphics and stuff, that was the only time I can recall being kind of jealous that I wasn't in the game because I thought it was so cool.
It was
and I remember
it reminded me of WrestleFest, arcade style.
Yeah, and I remember that Drew McIntyre made it, and he was kind of close to the same level where I was at the time, not really an important guy in WWE, and I was like, man, he made it, damn, lucky for him. And I also, another thing that just sparked to me now while I'm talking about this out loud, I remember hearing through the grapevine, which I can't confirm, that the payouts to be in that game because the roster wasn't so bloated was pretty impressive.
I remember hearing that as well, and also being devastated not being in the game.
At least you were doing stuff at the time.
And I wasn't in the game.
You got screwed actually. Now that I'm thinking about it.
But yeah, there's 3 2-packs. It's Austin and Punk.
Yep.
Austin and Punk, Jake and Randy.
Randy.
And
then you've talked.
Probably the biggest head scratcher of them all, Morrison and Randy Savage. Which
I would say you guys have talked about this before, so
yeah.
So
You've never worn that gear, right?
Who?
Macho Man?
Oh, he has. Yeah, yeah. Of course, I posted about it, and someone found me the exact photo because he comes with 2 bandanas, and I'm like, "What is this leopard print bandana?" They found him wearing it. It's the green trunks.
Yeah, I remember that now. Actually, you're saying that
Because that's not what he even wears in the game, which is weird.
Right?
Oh, really?
yeah,
It's only one out of those that doesn't wear what's on his figure.
Yeah,
Really?
everyone else is an exact counterpart to their action figure, to their video game model, except for Randy. It's
Wow.
weird.
So I do remember that game being fun. Like Brian, video games kind of passed me by. Of course, I played N64, No Mercy, WrestleMania 2000, all those games. But then it just got a little too difficult for me, And then, like Brian said, I tried playing.
You were using a game genie. Just tell him you were.
But I remember Brian and I actually did the mocap for one of the WWE games while we were in Deep South Wrestling before we were on the main roster. And I got so excited that day or that week, that I would be in the game or, my movements, that I went out and I bought an Xbox, bought all these games.
Oh my God, this is true. I forgot about this.
And then I played it for about a week and then sold it to Kofi.
I forgot this is all true.
Yeah.
Do you remember which game it was?
So it was we did it in very, very early 2007. So it had to be like the 07-08 game. The year before we're actually in the game, I would say.
The year after.
Year before.
Oh, yeah, the year before we're in the game, yeah.
And basically, our boss at the time was Mike Bucci, aka Nova from ECW, aka Simon Dean, and he back then they would use developmental talent to do it, kind of I guess to save money because now they hire like independent wrestlers to do it, and I think guys were getting too hurt and stuff, so they realized it wasn't worth the risk. But you would just kind of get like cherry picked, and Mike kind of like liked us, and he was just like, "Oh, I'll take you to LA for a week." And we're like, and to not go to Deep South Wrestling practice for a week and go on like basically a vacation to LA was like unreal, like mind blowing experience for Matt and I. And so he basically just picked who he wanted to hang out with. So he brought us, and he brought Stevie Richards. And then I remember like there's like an agenda of what you have to do. You know, you're not just like doing power bombs like nonstop. Like, so some of that stuff is not all that exciting. And for whatever reason, most of the week we did, it was like me and Broski circling and like tying up and like kind of chain wrestling or like walking towards each other and stopping. Like, and then like Bucci and Stevie were just sitting off to the side, like watching YouTube videos. And like, we were the only ones like working the whole time. And then finally, like the last 2 days, we did the cool stuff where we got to do like entrances and things like that.
You remember who you did it all?
I remember like I couldn't do, you know, Cena has that weird slide in the ring. I couldn't do it because the ring was like slightly higher, and I just couldn't like get in because he like slides and then swings his hips through. And like no matter how many times I tried it, it was just really, really bad.
I know Broski for sure did RVD. I remember that, like doing the whole like, you know, the point to yourself thing. I did Jeff Hardy, which included the like free bird, like fire up on the ramp and stuff. And I remember like the first time I did it, probably wasn't that great. And Nova was like, dude, no one's fucking here. Just mark the fuck out. Who cares? Like, who cares? And he's right. And I just fucking went for it and did the full blown like Jeff Hardy dance on top of the ramp. And then the other thing that's in my mind is Stevie Richards couldn't do Undertaker's walk. Like he's such an awkward human being. He, like when they were telling him to just walk slow and he like couldn't do it. Like he was like still just being all like sporadic and shit. And it was like unbelievable.
All the things to get in your own head about a walk is not the thing you would expect it to be.
Yeah.
I will say this, the attention to detail was unbelievable. Like before you were to do something, they'd show you the video. Like they had everything like lined up, ready to go. And especially when every year you take these photos for the video game. They get you from every angle, every expression, your hands, your boots, your palms, like literally every angle. And the first game we were in, we were actually downloadable. I don't know if you remember that.
I do.
We weren't even in it. But the gear that they use for me, I'm not sure about the actual game, but I just found the photo on my phone. It's of gear I never wore because like we were supposed to be, after we became the Edgeheads, we were supposed to just get new gear right away. So we rushed and got like Edge looking like gear, and we took photos in it. But then we never got to wear it. Like I've never worn this gear. And when they showed that we were in the roster, it's in this, I would say it's made up gear, but I actually do have it. But we never got to wear it. I bet you ended up wearing yours eventually, right?
Mine?
You had trunks, and you wore.
I'm pretty sure I'm in the trunks like that I wore forever, and like my deluxe aggression figures.
These have like almost like the Brood. What's it called? That little symbol,
the cross.
Yeah, that weird cross. It was stars. Yeah. Zack Ryder. And kick pads, like stuff I never ever wore.
Wow,
we took those
I barely remember that.
Yeah,
I gotta say though, knowing that you guys collect everything that you're a part of, to hear that you guys, even the games that you're in, you don't collect them, whether or not you play them, always struck me as something that was.
No, I have one of every game that I've been in. For what reason?
What about
I do
you,
not
Matt?
know, because I don't own consoles or anything.
I was just going through my collection of stuff to sell because I got fired, and I realized that I did have. I did have the majority, if not, I haven't like went through and checked, but I would say I'd have 99% of the games. Just like, you know, I don't have for every system. You know, whatever. Yeah. 2K12 I have for Xbox. 2K13 I have it for PlayStation, whatever. So the ones that I don't have, I will have to go back and get. What are those old school? What are those stores called where you go buy old games?
I mean, depending on where you are.
What was it called? Right? What was it called? Like back in the day?
It's Electronics Boutique,
Funkoland.
Funkoland. Remember Funkoland?
Yeah.
Wow.
Was it like a full circle moment when Chris Statlander did your entrance this year's game?
That was funny because you guys all showed me that, and you can. And well, one, I'm very flattered and honored that she got to do it, but. Once you guys told me it was her, I'm like, oh, this is a female. Like, there's just a certain like, there's like a certain saunter where you can just tell like that's not a man didn't do that. That's clearly a woman. It's just too like I don't know, fluid. I guess I don't know. Yeah, dainty.
Whoever did my entrance this year totally fucked it up. They do like a double L, not even L-I.
Oh man!
Like I do one thing, and you throw up two L's.
I mean, Sanjay Dutt did mocap for years and years and years, and would like stooge stuff off to me. He'd be like, "Oh, I did your entrance, and we had to use like a pipe cleaner as the pipe or whatever, or something, like a plastic like plumbing tube or something." And I'll be like, "Okay, at least I know I'm in or whatever, things like that."
So we're talking about All Stars here, right?
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
So I was
And
going to say,
figures.
so for these figures, you guys obviously collect them and you have them. Like, you have these in your collections, every single one of them?
I only have the Macho Man. I
Because
bought
that
the
falls
2-pack
into your rule.
because it goes into my Macho Man rule. I guess technically I could have gotten the Jake and Austin, but neither of them I believe were different enough to get, unless I have Jake and I don't even realize I have him in my collection.
Well, the thing that we noticed about these is that there's other Mattel figures and other lines that are very similar, if not
Yeah.
exactly
This
the
was
same.
It seems very thrown together just to promote the game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I was surprised to see how high up in price some of these packs could
because
be.
they were
big
they were
time.
Toys R Us exclusives, and so early on in that Mattel run, like people weren't. I don't know if people just weren't collecting. I don't know because the Mattel WWE prices have risen faster than any wrestling product ever, and I can't. It's almost like unexplainable. It's like if you sit on a Mattel thing for 2 years, it's going to double in price, like at least. At
Actually,
least.
I'm looking at this All Stars 2-pack. I definitely have this Jake the Snake because he's
I
in the
think
green,
I only have Jake left. Yeah,
because he's in the green tights. There's no other
Jake like that because
the other
Series 2 Jake is heel Jake.
a heel Jake, and then
Yeah.
later they make the Hall of Fame where he's in the gray tights.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
I just realized I don't have that.
At the time these came out, I was collecting
shit.
everything, so I got them all, and I've since purged a little bit.
We opened up a
But
can of
I think
worms.
Jake's the only one that
Oh, man,
remains.
guys, thanks for inviting me on the show because I just realized I need the Hall of Fame class of 2014 Jake.
Really?
RingsideCollectibles.com. I don't think I have this. In gray?
Broski, I know you, and I know you very well. I'm advising you right now to get up, walk across the hall, and look into your cabinet because I'm sure it's there, and now you're going to have two.
There's no way I could tell if it's in there. There's so many figures jam-packed.
Use your phone flashlight or something. I don't know.
Have you seen the other stuff that they put out with the game at all?
No, so what is it?
It's called the Brawl Stick, which is it's like this box. It looks like a joystick pad, like an arcade joystick. It's got Triple H and The Rock on it. And then instead of holding a controller, you could play like holding the joystick and pressing the buttons like you're on an arcade table.
Oh, really?
That's pretty cool.
So how does this work? I'm so like out of video games. Like, how does this work? It's all like over the top style.
You put the TV on channel 3.
No, so these plug in the same way that, it's a lot of the consoles nowadays have like USB ports. So like the same way that you plug in your microphone and stuff, unless you're going through a mixer.
Well, I don't plug in my microphone. My wife does it for me. She just sets all this up because I don't know what the hell's going on.
So the same way that you would plug in like a memory stick into your laptop, it's that same kind of plug.
Okay. So like, do games come out in the stores or do you actually buy them anymore?
Either or, it depends. So like I just came up with the idea that because we have this podcast, I'm going to collect every wrestling video game for PlayStation 1 to PlayStation 4. And then I'll revisit after that. And, you have the option of buying a lot of them digitally, but if you're going to be a collector and you want to have those things
There's
like in the
nothing else,
case,
yeah.
it's, you have the option for most of them.
So as a kid, obviously I loved wrestling. I loved video games, but there was a few times where I bought a system just to get a wrestling game. Like it was Sega CD had, I think, Rage in the Cage.
Yep.
And it was almost like kind of like Royal Rumble, like those graphics, just with more guys, a cage, and like different guys, like the head shrinkers. I was like, holy shit. So really, I made my
I
parents
have
buy
no
me-
recollection of that.
Yeah, I made my parents buy me Sega CD just so I could play this game.
You were the one. You were the
Yeah, I
one
was gonna
person
say.
that bought the Sega
And then
CD.
And then I tried to get my parents to buy me Sega 32X because their Raw as War has Quang in it.
Yep.
You needed Quang, huh?
Well, I know I didn't. My parents wouldn't buy it for Quang. They wouldn't do it. My cousin John had Quang. I was so pissed.
I remember my freshman year of high school, like, obviously I was not a video game guy, but I would go over to my friend's house just to watch him play WrestleMania 2000 because I just wanted to see the entrances and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was a cool part back.
It was like a big deal for me.
Nowadays, there's the beauty of all this technology. You can actually install emulators for consoles on your cell phone, and you can play like Royal Rumble for Sega on your cell phone.
Are you speaking English right now?
I'm watching your face like there's no way.
I don't know what you just said.
I could tell I lost you as soon as I said emulator.
I mean, all you need to know is that you can play it on your phone now. By the way, Smart Mark
install-
Sterling is here.
I was just going to say, I
get
got
an
cut off on the
introduction.
intro. I didn't get to introduce Marky.
Oh, man.
I've just been laughing, so I figured I had to say something.
There's been a lot of stupid shit said already.
We're talking about video games and wrestling figures. What about the Retro Fest figures that Mattel made that they looked like they were in an arcade console? Those look pretty badass.
Yep.
Those are cool. Yeah.
I think right around the time that you guys started the Major Pod, I was at Chosen One Collectibles in Long Island, and I found one of those figures, and I sent it to Mark, and I was like, how rare is this figure? How important is this figure? And he's just like, if you like it, get it, because everything's just going to go up. So
Right.
Yeah, he's right. Those might be the coolest packaging Mattel's ever done.
Yeah,
It's actually
for sure.
kind of sad the line's dead already after only 5 or 6 figures.
Yeah,
And then the other thing with figures and video games is like that the playable characters that came with the retros. I don't know if you guys ever even did that.
Oh yeah,
No.
so like technically, like my retro figure has like a scan. What's it called? A QR code thing.
Yo, my
Yeah.
wife just showed me last week. I didn't even know those were still a thing. That's like from your shirt in 2012. Like QR codes still work and
2000, bro. I had that in 2011.
yeah, I thought that was like a dead technology. I thought it was like
It
a
never took
VCR.
off. It still technically
Yeah.
it never took off.
they're
Yeah,
actually
she showed
making a comeback now.
Really?
Yeah, because
Point your camera at it on your phone now, and
And your
it
phone
goes.
knows.
That's
yeah,
why
my
it's
wife
like-
showed
Well,
me
that's what
that.
it was supposed to do before.
It's
well,
great.
it
actually.
used to be
nobody
just
was
like a
doing it.
BlackBerry thing or whatever.
Yeah. That's how
whatever it
I
was.
remember it.
Yeah, now it's like every phone on every camera can just scan it. So now that it's more like easily accessible, they're like starting to make a comeback. So
Okay. I'll bring it back in my tights maybe. But as Mark was saying, on the retro figures, they would come with a little code, and then you would, for instance, scan Zack Ryder, and then you'd be into this mobile game. But I don't know if it's been updated, but when I got the Zack Ryder figure and I scanned it, I wouldn't get uploaded into the game. So I don't know if they ever put me in. And then when I told Mattel that, they said never talk about that publicly. But I don't work for WWE anymore, so I can say it.
And I despise that whole concept because they kind of half ruined the retros to me because they came with those stands and it took away from the old schoolness of them and it just pissed me off.
Well, then they just started adding just paper inserts when they got rid of the stands.
Yeah.
And they did. I downloaded the game and inputted every single character, and I've never played it for 1 second. I just have the game on my phone with all the characters that I bought.
So is there a Zack Ryder?
Yeah, it worked.
Oh.
But the thing is, we got Broski got his so early. Like Ringside would send it before it was in the stores, so it wasn't ready in the game
Oh,
yet.
that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's ready now.
But what screwed me is that, okay, so I tried to scan it in, right?
Yeah,
And then what happened, once you scan it in, you can't scan it in again. So it scanned it as invalid. So I was screwed. I could never be in unless I uninstalled
man.
everything. So I said, this ain't fucking worth it.
Sorry, man. Hard times.
All right, any other questions? We got a podcast to record.
yeah, I was gonna say, John, what else? You got anything else?
We'll let you go here, but the new game's coming out this fall. It's not. They completely skipped 2K21 this year because
Now,
reasons.
I saw, so they skip 2K, and then they give you a game with alligators? That's the big comeback?
It's like with alligators, but to go off what Brian said earlier, he played the Aladdin game. The executive producer of this new game worked on the Aladdin game. So
There we go. I'm in. I'm back.
I remember the code, Genie,
It's just gonna be
Gafar,
like
Aladdin, Abu.
If it's like Undertaker running through the boneyard and Aladdin style, then I'm in.
it actually might be that.
There we
Just
go. I'm in. That's all we
I
need.
remember. I just watched it. I watched it this morning. It was like, all right, so the 2K game's not coming out, but here's the new game. And it's like Rock comes out, then Cena, and then Rock throws Cena into an alligator's mouth. I'm like, what is this?
And if you
First
look
thing I
behind them,
noticed is
it's
how-
still the old Scratch logo on everything. So I think they've had this in the can for a while, and they're just like, okay, we need something now.
I'm gonna
Oh
need a
my
link to
God.
that. I don't even know. I gotta see this. This might get me back into video games, guys.
Oh,
Oh.
Jesus.
All right, boys.
All
All
right,
right.
thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks
guys.
for having us.
Later,
Thanks
brothers.
so much, guys.
See you
Peace
guys.
out.
Mark, good to see you.
You too.
Nice to meet you, man. What's your name again?
You guys.
I can't believe you're not
Thanks,
Jay George. This is bullshit.
Jay
Jay George.
It's unbelievable.